The first human ship to enter the central space of the Galactic Concord did not look impressive. It was gray, plain, and marked only by a small blue symbol near its bow. Many watching from distant stations assumed it was a support craft, not a diplomatic vessel. The Empire's observers felt no need to hide their boredom. Han Jisu stood alone in the quiet meeting chamber, his hands resting calmly at his sides. The room was large and cold, shaped for bodies that were taller and wider than his own. The air was thin, but breathable. He had trained for this for years, trained his body and his mind, but training did not remove the weight of the moment. He was the first human to speak for Earth in this place. He did not wear armor. He did not carry a weapon. His clothing was simple, dark, and clean. A small device rested at his wrist, translating his words into the shared trade language of the galaxy. He trusted it, but he trusted himself more. Around him, holographic forms appeared one by one. Representatives of many species watched in silence. Some were curious. Some were amused. Some barely noticed him at all. At the center of them all, higher and brighter than the rest, was the image of the Empire's High Adjudicator. The Empire had ruled this region of space for longer than humanity had known fire. Their fleets were massive. Their laws were final. Their patience was thin. Han Jisu bowed once, not deeply, not weakly. It was a sign of respect, not submission. "My name is Han Jisu," he said. "I speak for the United Human Systems of Earth." The translator carried his voice clearly. The chamber did not respond. On Luna, far from the Concord, Kung Mira watched the feed from a dim operations room. She sat with her arms crossed, eyes fixed on the image of the man she had helped prepare. She had argued against sending only one envoy. The council had decided that one was enough. If they kill him, she had said, it will not be because he was weak. Beside her, Park Doyon stood in silence. He wore a fleet uniform, though no ships under his command were visible on any public map. His expression did not change as he watched. In the chamber, the Empire's adjudicator finally spoke. Its voice was layered, as if several mouths spoke at once. "You are late to the stars," it said. "You stand before powers older than your species. State your request quickly." Han Jisu did not rush. "Humanity requests recognition as a sovereign power," he said. "We request equal standing under Concord law. We request open trade and mutual non-aggression." A ripple of quiet reaction passed through the chamber. Some delegates leaned forward. Others showed signs of laughter in their own ways. The adjudicator paused. "Equal standing is not granted," it said. "It is earned." Han Jisu nodded once. "Then we are here to begin earning it," he replied. On Luna, Kong Mira closed her eyes for a brief second. That line had not been approved. The adjudicator's light shifted in color. A sign of irritation. "You misunderstand," it said. "You earn standing through service, tribute, and obedience. Your systems lie within imperial reach. You will accept protectorate status." Han Jisu felt the weight of every human world behind him. He remembered training halls, crowded cities, quiet farms, and ships still under construction. He remembered the faces of those who had sent him here. "No," he said simply. The word echoed longer than it should have. The adjudicator stared at him. "You refuse?" It said. "Yes," Han Jisu answered. "Humanity will not kneel. We will cooperate as equals, or not at all." The silence that followed was heavy. Even distant observers felt it. On Luna Park, Doyon exhaled slowly through his nose. "There it is," he said. The adjudicator spoke again, slower now. "You are small," it said. "Your fleets are few. Your weapons are crude. You speak of equality without the strength to enforce it." Han Jisu did not raise his voice. "We speak of law," he said. "The Concord claims to protect sentient rights. Execution of diplomats violates that law. Forced submission violates that law. We are here in peace." The adjudicator's light flared. "You presume to lecture the Empire on law?" it said. "I presume nothing," Han Jisu replied. "I remind, that was when the chamber changed. Security fields activated around Han Ji-soo. The temperature dropped. Several delegates pulled back, suddenly alert. They had seen this before. On Luna, warning symbols appeared across the screens. Kong Mira stood up so fast her chair fell backward. "They're doing it," she said. Park Do-yeon said nothing. His hand moved to a private communicator that did not connect to the Concorde. The adjudicator's voice filled the chamber. "You have committed a violation," it said. "You have shown defiance in the face of rightful authority." Han Ji-soo felt the field press against his body. Pain flickered along his arms, controlled, measured. The Empire did not believe in messy displays. "I speak for my people," he said through clenched teeth. "If you judge me, you judge them." "Then so be it," the adjudicator replied. The sentence was passed quickly. There was no debate. No vote. Execution by energy collapse. Public recorded. Several delegates protested, weakly, for form more than belief. The Empire ignored them. On Luna, Kong Mira shouted at the screen, though she knew he could not hear her. Park Do-yeon's communicator pulsed once, then went dark. In the chamber, Han Ji-soo straightened as much as the field allowed. His breathing was slow. His eyes were clear. "This will not end, you think it will," he said. The adjudicator did not respond. The energy field tightened. Light filled the space around Han Ji-soo, bright but controlled. There was no blood, no scream, only a sharp silence as the field collapsed inward. When it ended, the space where the human envoy had stood was empty. The Empire broadcast the recording across known space. They meant it as a lesson. On Earth, the transmission reached every major network within minutes. On Mars, on orbital stations, on distant colonies, the same image played again and again. A human standing alone, a refusal, an execution. For several minutes after the broadcast ended, there was no sound, no alarms, no shouting. Kong Mira stood in the Luna operations room, hands shaking, eyes dry. "They think this ends it," she whispered. Park Do-yeon looked at a separate display, one the public could not see. Hidden fleets shifted from standby to readiness. Systems long labeled as theoretical turned green? "No," he said quietly. "This is where it begins." Across human space, memorial lights activated without central order. Candles appeared in windows. Names were spoken softly. Han Ji-soo. The Empire watched the reactions and saw only stillness. They logged humanity as contained. They did not understand human silence. They did not understand what humans did when grief hardened into resolve. And far from the Concorde chamber, in places the Empire had never bothered to observe, humanity began to prepare. The silence did not break when the transmission ended. On Earth, screens went dark one by one. News anchors sat frozen. Crowds stood still in streets and homes. The image of Han Ji-soo's final moments stayed in people's minds even after the light faded from their walls. No one screamed, no one cheered. The Empire expected chaos. They expected fear, protests, angry words sent into space. They expected humans to beg, to threaten, or to collapse. None of that happened. For exactly 7 minutes, all open human channels remained silent. In that silence, something old and deep moved Kong. Mira stood alone in the Luna operations room. The screens around her showed system status, public response monitors, and long-range sensors. Every graph was steady. Too steady, she pressed her fingers together to stop them from shaking. "This is wrong," she said to no one. She had studied human history her entire life. Wars, disasters, plagues, every time. There had been noise first, panic, anger, blame. This was different. This was focus. Behind, sealed doors beneath the moon's surface, secure channels opened. They did not carry speeches. They carried short confirmations, ready, standing by, acknowledged. Park Do-yeon walked through a corridor lined with old mission patches and fleet symbols. Some were centuries old, dating back to Earth's first orbital conflicts. Others were newer, never shown to the public. A young officer stepped aside as he passed. eyes red but posture straight. "Sir," she said. Park Doyen nodded. "Hold the line, yes, sir." Entered a command room that officially did not exist. No windows, no flags, just a wide table and a star map filled with markers, invisible to civilian scans. The map changed. Human fleets that had never been acknowledged shifted positions. Deep space stations powered up drives that had never been tested in public. Supply chains rerouted without explanation. Park Doyen did not smile. "They killed a diplomat," he said calmly. "They broke the oldest rule." Around the table, commanders listened. No one argued. On Earth, memorials formed without instruction. In small towns, people placed candles near public screens. In cities, names appeared on walls. Written by hand. Hanjisu. Children asked who he was. "He spoke for us," was the answer. In the Galactic Concord, reactions were mixed. Some species were uneasy. They had seen imperial executions before, but never of a diplomat from a unified species. Others dismissed it as necessary discipline. The humans were foolish, one delegate said. They challenged order. They did not beg, another replied quietly. That is unusual. The Empire's analysts reviewed the aftermath. Their models showed minimal activity. No fleet launches. No hostile signals. Species morale broken, an officer concluded. Archive the event, another said. Proceed with territorial absorption planning. They did not notice the closed channels. They did not notice the absence of noise. Kong Mira finally sat down, pulling data from historical archives. She compared the current response to records from Earth's past. The pattern was clear. When humans shouted, it meant confusion. When humans went quiet, it meant decision. She opened a secure channel to Park Doyen. "They think we're frozen," she said. Park Doyen looked at the star map. "Let them." Hours passed. The first public human response appeared not as a speech, but as a single text transmission sent to the Galactic Concord. In all registered powers, it was short. It named the crime, it cited the law, it declared. A state of war? No leader signed it. No flag was shown. It ended with one line. Responsibility will be enforced. The galaxy reacted with confusion. "Is that all?" One foreign commentator asked. "Where are their demands?" Another said, "The Empire dismissed it as posturing." "Words," the adjudicator said. "They have nothing else." On Earth, the message was not broadcast with music or ceremony. It was posted quietly. People read it. Some nodded. Some cried. Then they went back to work, factories extended shifts, shipyards, accelerated construction schedules, hospitals, reviewed emergency protocols, farmers, increased yields. No one was told to do these things. They remembered. Park Doyen stood before the fleet commanders. "We are not invading," he said. "We are enforcing," a commander asked. "Civilian targets." "None," Park Doyen replied. "We are not them." Another asked, "Casualty tolerance?" Park Doyen's jaw tightened. "As low as possible? Every life matters." The room understood. Human doctrine was not built on glory. It was built on survival. Kong. Myra prepared briefing files for allied species who had not yet chosen sides. She did not threaten. She shared evidence. Imperial records, past executions, broken treaties. Humans remember. She said during one closed meeting, "And we keep receipts." Some species listened, some did not. The first movement came quietly. An Imperial border relay station went offline. No explosion. No debris field. Just silence. Imperial technicians blamed. Malfunction. Then a supply convoy failed to arrive. Then another. Human ships did not announce themselves. They did not broadcast threats. They slipped into known routes and removed key nodes with precise force. Park. Out. Doyen watched the reports, confirmed no civilian presence. He said again and again, "Yes." "Sir?" The Empire began to notice losses. They are avoiding us, an officer said. They are not fighting. They are erasing us, another replied. In the Concord, panic grew among smaller powers. Trade routes faltered. Imperial authority wavered. They said war, a delegate whispered. This does not look like war. On Earth, Kong Mira visited a small memorial near a transit hub. A simple image of Han Jusu stood beside hundreds of candles. A child placed another light at the base. Will he come back? The child asked. Kong Mira knelt beside him. No, she said softly. Then why are we so quiet? She looked at the stars through the station glass. Because shouting is over, she said. Now, we act. Far from human space, an Imperial outpost detected an unknown contact. 2. Late, the first true clash was over in minutes. No broadcast, no survivors to send warnings, only a clean report sent back to Park Doyon. Objective. Secured, the message read. Minimal losses. All personnel accounted for. Park Doyon closed his eyes for a moment. For Jisoo, someone whispered over a private channel. Across the galaxy, systems that had once bowed to the Empire felt something shift. Not fear. Certainty. Humanity had not shouted. Humanity had not begged. Humanity had chosen. And the stars began to learn what that meant. The Empire did not understand the declaration. Their wars always began with noise, speeches, demands, displays of power meant to crush hope before fleets ever moved. They believed war was a performance as much as a conflict. The humans had given them none of that. Imperial analysts gathered data and argued over it. There is no central command signature, one said. No primary fleet movement, another added. Then the declaration is empty. A third concluded. They cannot fight what they cannot organize. They logged humanity as reckless but weak. They were wrong in human space. Park Doyon watched reports arrive from places the Empire did not know existed. Listening posts embedded inside drifting debris fields. Sensor nets hidden inside old asteroid mines. Civilian ships retrofitted to act as eyes and ears. Humans had learned early that survival did not come from strength alone. It came from seeing danger before it arrived. Confirm phase status, Park Doyon said. Phase 1 complete, came the reply. Phase 2 underway. Phase 2 was not invasion, it was denial. Imperial communication relays failed one after another. Some were disabled quietly. Others were hijacked long enough to feed false data before going dark. Fleet movements became uncertain. Orders arrived late or not at all. Imperial commanders grew angry. Find them, one demanded. We cannot, his officer replied. They do not stay. Human ships struck, vanished, and struck again from new vectors. They did not claim territory. They did not hold ground. They removed function. Supply ships disappeared. Fuel depots stopped responding. Repair yards lost power. Each loss alone was small. Together, they slowed an empire. On Luna, Kong Mira stood before a wall of projections. She tracked political reactions instead of fleet data. Panic moved slower than ships, but it left deeper marks. Smaller species watched imperial trade collapse along their borders. They cannot protect us. One leader said in a private channel, they never protected us. Kong Mira replied calmly. They controlled you, she sent proof. Records of seized resources. Forced labor quotas. Quiet executions that had never reached the Concord. Some channels closed. Immediately others stayed open. Trust did not come fast. But it came. The Empire tried intimidation. A battle group entered a neutral system near human space and destroyed an empty station. They broadcast the destruction widely. This is restraint, the message declared. Obey, and more will not follow, on Earth. The broadcast played once, then it was archived. Park Doyon reviewed the location. No casualties, an officer confirmed. Then they are still guessing. Park Doyon said, He authorized the next step. Human fleets shifted. Posture not forward, sideways. They bypassed Imperial lines and struck deeper. Hitting logistics hubs the Empire believed untouchable. These targets were protected by distance, not defense. The Empire began to bleed time. Fuel shortages, delayed responses, repair. Crews lacked parts. Commanders argued instead of acting for the first time in centuries. Imperial forces began to retreat, not from battle, but from uncertainty in one skirmish. An Imperial patrol caught a human strike group exiting a jump corridor. Weapons. Charged orders screamed. The human ships did not run. They formed a tight defensive shell, covering each other with overlapping fire. When one ship took damage, another moved to shield it. When an engine failed, the formation slowed instead of leaving it. Behind, Imperial officers watched in disbelief. They are protecting each other, one said. That is inefficient. Another replied. The patrol commander frowned. It is deliberate. The humans withdrew together, leaving the patrol damaged but alive. Imperial reports flagged the encounter as strange. No pursuit. No finishing strike. They could have destroyed us, the commander admitted. Why didn't they? The question spread. On Luna. Kong Mira listened to intercepted discussions. They don't abandon their wounded, one alien analyst said. Not even machines. They fight like loss matters, another replied. That idea unsettled many. The Empire's doctrine accepted loss as math. Humanity treated loss as memory, the first captured Imperial crew confirmed. Human Marines boarded a disabled ship after its crew had surrendered. They secured weapons, sealed breaches, and treated injuries. An Imperial officer stared as a human medic worked on his burned arm. Why help me? He demanded. The medic answered simply. Because you're hurt. The officer had no response. Park Doyon reviewed the footage. Ensure prisoners are logged and protected, he ordered. Yes, sir. Humanity was not trying to terrify the galaxy. They were trying to show it something. The Empire tried escalation. A full battle fleet was dispatched toward a human outer system. This time, the intent was clear. Kong Myra watched the political fallout as news spread. They're coming openly now, she said over SecureLink. Park Doyon nodded. Then it's time. Human fleets did not rush to meet the Empire head-on. They prepared. The system navigation beacons shifted. Gravitational sensors altered readings. Minefields were deployed in patterns that forced predictable movement. When the Imperial fleet arrived, it found itself slowed, separated, and blind. Human ships struck from multiple angles, not aiming to destroy at first, but to disable engines and weapons. Imperial commanders shouted orders that arrived too late. Within hours, the fleet was broken, not destroyed. Broken survivors retreated in disorder across the galaxy. Observers stared. That was not a battle, one said. That was control. In the Concord, emergency sessions were called. They are winning without conquering a delegate, said. They are dismantling power, another whispered. The Empire's adjudicator reviewed the situation in silence. Find their center, it ordered. Every species has one. The reply came slowly. They do not, the analyst said. They are distributed. For the first time, the Empire felt something unfamiliar. Concern on Earth. Kong Mira stood before a wall bearing Han Jisu's name. They listened, she said quietly. Just not how they expected. Far from Earth, Park Doyon watched the stars shift as fleets repositioned. This is only the beginning, he said. The galaxy was starting to realize that humanity's declaration had never been about anger. It had been about responsibility, and responsibility, once accepted, did not stop. The Empire began to understand that it was losing control. Not space control had always been their true weapon. Borders shifted over time, but authority remained firm. Now, authority cracked in small, quiet ways. Reports arrived late. Orders conflicted. Commanders argued over missing data. Entire systems waited for direction that never came. The Empire blamed sabotage. They were only partly right. Human operations expanded, but not outward. They went inward, into the gaps the Empire had ignored for centuries. Old trade lanes. Forgotten relay hubs. Worlds considered too poor or too obedient to matter. On one such world, a small Imperial administrator stared at a dead console. The system had gone dark an hour earlier. No explosions. No warning. Restore the link, he ordered. There is nothing to restore, his technician replied. It's gone. What do you mean gone? The technician swallowed. Physically removed. Above the planet, a human ship drifted silently before jumping away. On Luna, Kong Myra reviewed reports from dozens of neutral systems. Leaders who had once feared even speaking against the Empire were now asking questions. How did you do it? One asked. We didn't, Kong Myra replied. The Empire did. We just stopped holding it together for them. She sent guidance, not orders. Suggestions on securing infrastructure. Advice on local defense. Nothing binding. Freedom frightened many of them. Park Doyon stood aboard, a command vessel that had never appeared on any registry. Its walls were plain. Its crew was quiet. Everyone aboard knew why they were there. Status, he said. Imperial response capacity down 32%, an officer replied. Morale decline, observed. Park Doyon nodded. Any civilian impact? Minimal. Human forces rerouted power before disabling stations. Good. The Empire noticed that detail too late. They are protecting populations, an Imperial analyst said. Even ours. That makes no sense, another replied. They are at war, as the analyst said slowly. But not with civilians. That idea spread through Imperial. Ranks like a fault line. Soldiers. Hesitated. Commanders questioned orders. The Empire tried fear again. They selected a human frontier colony. Small. Lightly. Defended. Symbolic. A fleet arrived. Without warning, on the colony, alarms sounded. Families ran to shelters built decades earlier. Never expecting to use them, a human defense coordinator sent a single message, hold. Park Doyen received the alert and turned to his officers. They crossed the line, he said. Human. Fleets moved fast, not in a single mass, but in waves from different directions. They did not announce themselves. They arrived already firing. Imperial ships met resistance they had not planned for. Human weapons focused on command vessels first. Confusion spread. On the colony below, people listened as the sounds of battle echoed through the planet's thin atmosphere, then silence. Imperial wreckage burned in. Orbit human ships remained. They did not pursue the retreating fleet, they stayed. Park Doyon watched confirmation. Arrive. Colony secure, the message read. 0 civilian losses. He closed his eyes briefly. Across the galaxy. That moment changed everything. For the first time, a species had openly defended itself against the Empire and survived. Not only survived, protected Kong. Mira spoke with leaders who had never contacted Earth before. They didn't abandon their people, one said. They came back, as Kong Mira replied. We always do. The Empire's adjudicator convened an emergency council. Escalation has failed, an officer admitted. Intimidation has failed. Then we punish, another said. We make an example. The adjudicator remained silent for a long moment. Find the ones who decide, it said. Break them. Search began. Imperial intelligence looked for a human emperor, a ruling council, a sacred world. They found none. Human governance was spread across worlds, systems, and networks. Authority flowed outward, not downward. There is no throat to cut, an analyst said. The adjudicator's light dimmed. Meanwhile, human operations shifted again. Park Doyon authorized direct engagement with Imperial military infrastructure. Shipyards, training academies. Fleet command nodes, still no civilian targets. Still no broadcast threats. Imperial officers woke to find their bases powerless. their fleets trapped, their weapons useless. Some surrendered without a fight. Human Marines accepted the surrender. An Imperial captain asked, "Why don't you finish us?" A human officer replied, "Because this ends when you stop." Word spread. Imperial. Soldiers began to lay down arms, not from fear of death, from exhaustion. The Empire's allies grew. Nervous, trade partners hesitated. Vassal. Worlds delayed tribute. The Concord watched in disbelief as the Empire lost influence without losing territory. Kong. Mira addressed a closed session of neutral delegates. "This war doesn't need to spread," she said. "It ends when accountability begins." "What does humanity want?" one asked. "Law," she answered. "The same law for everyone." Park Doyon reviewed casualty lists. Human losses were low. Imperial losses were higher, but far lower than expected. "Why so restrained?" an officer asked. Park Doyon looked at a small image on his console. Han Jisu's face. "Because this isn't revenge," he said. "It's correction." The Empire tried one last tactic. They sent a message, not to Earth, to the galaxy. They accused humanity of destabilizing order, of threatening peace, of hypocrisy. The message spread fast. So did the response. Kong. Mira released the recordings. Han Jisu's execution, Imperial orders, historical evidence. The galaxy watched again. This time, they understood. On Earth, people watched quietly. They did not cheer. They waited. Far from human space. Imperial core systems flickered as pressure mounted. The adjudicator reviewed. Lost projections. For the first time in its existence. The Empire faced a future where it might be held responsible, and it did not know how to survive that. The Empire began to fracture from the inside. It did not happen with explosions or loud rebellions. It happened in meetings, in delayed orders, in officers who hesitated 1 second too long. The Empire had always relied on certainty. Now, certainty was gone. Imperial. Commanders argued over priorities. Protect. The core, one said. Restore trade lanes. Another argued. Crush the humans. A third demanded. They could not do all. 3. Humanity understood this. Park Doyen watched the Imperial response patterns change. Fleets that once moved with perfect order now arrived late or incomplete. Some never arrived at all. "They're stretched," an officer said. "They're breaking," Park Doyon replied. He did not order a push forward. He ordered pressure. Human forces continued to target command structures and logistics. Training centers lost power. Fleet yards found their automated systems locked. Supply depots opened their doors to find their inventories gone, not destroyed. Simply removed, Imperial soldiers woke to find themselves unable to fight. Some cursed. Some surrendered. Some simply sat down in one system. An Imperial garrison laid down its weapons without a single shot fired. The commanding officer transmitted a message to the nearest human ship. "We cannot continue," he said. "Our orders contradict each other. Our supplies are gone. End this." The human response came quickly. "Secure your personnel. Remain in place. Medical teams inbound." The officer stared at the screen in disbelief. "You are not taking prisoners?" "We are," the human reply said. "We are also taking responsibility." That phrase spread, responsibility, across the galaxy. It began to replace fear as the word most often linked to humanity. Kongmyra sat in a quiet room, reviewing reports from neutral and former Imperial client worlds. Messages came in faster now. They left, one leader said. Imperial overseers abandoned the station. They withdrew their fleet, another reported. They said they were recalled. Kongmyra sent calm replies. Maintain local order. Protect civilians. I do. Not seek revenge. Some leaders struggled with that last instruction. We suffered under them, one said. Why should we show restraint? Because if you do not, Kongmyra replied, you become what you hated. The Empire noticed the shift in language. Humans are influencing. Governance, an analyst warned. They are exporting. Ideas, another said. The adjudicator remained silent for the first time. Imperial intelligence admitted what they feared most. This conflict cannot be won through force alone, an officer said. They are changing the environment. The Empire tried to adapt. They consolidated fleets near their core systems. Defensive lines were drawn. Ancient weapons platforms were powered up for the first time in centuries. We will hold, the adjudicator declared. They will exhaust themselves. Humanity did not rush. Park Doyon slowed operations. Let them fortify, he said. Every wall they build costs them something. Human fleets repositioned, cutting off routes to the core instead of attacking it. Trade stopped. Tribute shipments never arrived. The Empire's economy began to fail. Worlds that depended on Imperial logistics faced shortages. The Empire diverted resources inward, leaving outer systems to fend for themselves. Those systems remembered who helped them. Human aid ships arrived quietly, bringing food, medical supplies, and repair crews. They asked for nothing in return. An alien dockmaster watched humans unload cargo. Why help us? He asked. A human officer answered, because starving people don't make good choices. The dockmaster had no reply. On an Imperial world near the core, protests began. Not loud ones. Silent gatherings. Work. Ears refused overtime. Administrators delayed enforcement. Imperial security tried to respond. They found their equipment disabled. They found their orders unclear. They found their confidence gone. The adjudicator called for the execution of captured human personnel. The response from Imperial commanders was slow. Some refused outright. Others claimed technical delays. They had seen the footage of human medics treating enemy wounded. They had heard stories from surrendered crews, killing prisoners, no longer felt safe. Park Doyon received reports of the order. Hold position, he told his commanders. No escalation. But sir, one officer said, they may kill our people. Park Doyon's voice was steady. If they do, the galaxy will see it. That matters more than speed, Kongmira agreed. The Empire survives on controlled stories, she said. Let them tell the truth themselves. Order was never carried out. Imperial commanders delayed, until the adjudicator withdrew it. That withdrawal shook the Empire more than any defeat the Empire had blinked. In the Concord, emergency sessions became constant. We cannot ignore this, a delegate said. The Empire is failing. They still have power, another replied. Yes, the first said, but not authority. Distinction mattered. Human representatives did not attend these sessions. They watched. They waited. Park Doyon received a new set of reports. Imperial core defenses were active. Ancient fleets were mobilizing there. Preparing for a last stand, an officer said. Park Doyon looked at the data. Or a negotiation. Human forces adjusted again. This time, they moved closer. Not to attack, to be seen. Human fleets appeared at the edges of core systems. Not firing. Not advancing. Simply present. Imperial citizens saw them. Through their windows and screens, they expected. Destruction, none came. Days passed, no attack, no demands. Imperial. Media struggled to explain it. They are waiting, one commentator said. For what? Another asked. For accountability.com, Myra prepared a final evidence package. It was not emotional. It was precise. Execution orders. Command. Chain's legal violations. She transmitted it to the Concord and to every major power. This is not about punishment, she said in a recorded statement. It is about responsibility. The Empire executed a diplomat. The law is clear. The galaxy listened. Even Imperial citizens listened. On Earth, people watched quietly. Factories continued to run. Ships continued to launch. Life went on, but with focus. A worker paused by a memorial image of Han Jisoo. We didn't forget, she whispered. Far from Earth, An Imperial officer stood on a command deck, staring at human ships hanging in space like silent witnesses. "They're not afraid of us," he said. His second officer shook his head. "No, they're waiting for us to decide who we are." The Empire had never faced that question before. As pressure built and systems failed, the adjudicator finally spoke again. "Prepare a channel," it ordered. "To whom?" an officer asked. "To humanity," the adjudicator replied. The words echoed through the chamber, for the first time in centuries. The Empire was not issuing a command. It was asking to speak. The channel opened without ceremony. There was no music, no display of power. The image that formed was simple and steady. On one side, the Empire's adjudicator appeared as a field of controlled light. On the other side, there was no single human face. Instead, there were many. Observers from the Galactic Concord leaned closer. They expected a leader, a ruler, a throne. They saw none. Human representatives appeared from different systems, different worlds, different stations. Some wore uniforms. Some wore plain clothes. All stood still. Kong Mira was among them. She stood straight, hands at her sides, her face calm but firm. Park Doyon appeared from a command deck. The quiet hum of a ship behind him. The adjudicator spoke first. "You have disrupted order," it said. "You have damaged stability across the region." No one interrupted. "You demand accountability," the adjudicator continued. "For one life," Kong Mira answered. "For one act," she said. "For one choice." The adjudicator's light shifted. "Diplomats have died before," it replied. "Empires endure." Park Doyon spoke next. "Empires endure when no one stops them," he said. "That is not the same thing." The adjudicator paused. That pause was noticed. "What do you want?" It asked the question moved across human space. It was heard on ships, on stations, command rooms, and quiet homes. The answer came without hesitation. "Law," Kong Mira said. "Acknowledgement, responsibility." The adjudicator's tone hardened. "You seek judgment over the Empire," it said. "No, Park," Doyon replied. "We seek judgment within it." The adjudicator was silent for a long moment. Imperial advisors whispered urgently. Data streams spiked. Projections showed collapse curves that no longer bent upward. "You threaten our survival," the adjudicator said. Kong Mira's voice remained calm. "You threatened yours when you executed a diplomat." The recording of Han Jisu's execution appeared between them. Not edited, not slowed, just the truth across the galaxy. People watched again. Imperial citizens saw it. Without filters, they saw the refusal. They saw the calm. They saw the silence after. The adjudicator spoke. More quietly now, that decision was lawful under Imperial authority, it said. "Not under Concord law," Kong Mira replied. "Not under sentient law," a Concord observer interrupted, breaking protocol. "She is correct," the observer said. "The execution violated charter. Protections." Others joined. The Empire overstepped. The law is clear. Adjudicator's light dimmed. "Slightly, the Empire does not submit," it said. Park Doyon leaned forward. "Then we continue," he said simply, at his signal. New data appeared. Imperial fleet readiness levels, supply shortages, systems on the edge of open revolt, human. Fleets visible near core space, no weapons charging, just waiting. "This is not a threat," Park Doyon said. "This is the situation." The adjudicator reviewed the data. It took longer than expected during that time. Across the Empire, things shifted. On a core world, workers refused to load a fleet ship. On another, a governor delayed emergency powers. On a third, an imperial judge was quietly resigned. The Empire was not collapsing. It was unraveling. The adjudicator spoke again. What would satisfy humanity? It asked. The galaxy went quiet. Kong Mira answered carefully. "Public acknowledgement of the crime," she said. "Identification of those responsible. Removal of their authority. Formal commitment to Concord law and the war." The adjudicator asked. Park Doyon replied. ends the moment responsibility begins. Imperial advisors erupted in protest. This is surrender, one said. This is survival, another replied. The adjudicator raised its field. Silencing them. If we comply, it asked, will humanity withdraw? Yes, Park Doyon said. Immediately, the adjudicator considered. For the first time, the Empire faced a choice not enforced by force, compliance, or collapse. Across the galaxy, smaller species waited. They had lived under Imperial rule for generations. They had never seen the Empire hesitate. The adjudicator finally spoke. The Empire will issue a statement, it said. Regarding the execution, Kongmira nodded. Public, unedited. The adjudicator hesitated, then agreed. Moments later, the broadcast went live. Imperial citizens watched as the adjudicator addressed them. The execution of the human envoy, Hanjisu, was a violation of Concord law, it said. Authority exceeded its bounds. Shock moved through the Empire. The officials responsible are identified, the adjudicator continued. They are removed from command, effective immediately. Names appeared ranking, powerful, untouchable, until now. They will stand before a Concord tribunal, the adjudicator said. The Empire acknowledges fault, the words echoed. Acknowledges fault, on Earth. People stood in silence. Some cried, some closed their eyes. No one cheered. Kongmira felt her breath shake, for the first time since the war began. It's done, she whispered. Park Doyon did not. Relax. Confirm actions. He said. Reports came in fast. Imperial commanders stood down. Orders rescinded. Fleets powered down. Human forces held position. The adjudicator returned to the channel. The Empire has complied, it said. End your operations. Park Doyon nodded. All human forces, he said, cease offensive operations. Begin withdrawal. Cross space. Human ships changed course. No celebration. No suit. They simply left. Imperial citizens watched them go. Some felt relief. Some felt shame. Some felt something. New respect in the Concord. Delegates spoke openly. They stopped. One said, they could have taken more. They didn't want more, another replied. They wanted right. Kongmira addressed the Concord one final time. This war was not about power, she said. It was about consequence. She paused. Remember that. The channel closed. Across human space. Alerts shifted from red to green. Shipyards slowed. Factories returned to normal cycles. Medics stood down. Life continued. On Earth, a memorial service was held. No speeches, no flags. Just a simple moment of silence. Hanjusu's name was spoken. Not as a martyr, as a reminder. Far from Earth, the Empire began repairs. Not just to ships, to law, to trust. The galaxy watched carefully, because everyone understood now. Humanity did not seek war. But when justice was denied, humanity did not forget. And when humanity acted, it did not stop halfway.